spelling rule. It's quite contentious as a rule because it's not really a rule, because it's one of those rules that has more exceptions than it has words sometimes that actually fit the rule. So I bet you've heard I before E except after C. Yeah, have you heard that rhyme? I before E except after C. Yes, but not all the time. So what you've got to take into account with this is there are lots of words that don't fit. It only applies to certain words when they make a certain sound. All right, we have talked about this briefly before. Okay, so we are learning to recognise the spelling rules for E, I, E and EI and use them to spell familiar words. Now my board for some reason will not. Oh no, it's not going to move at all. Don't be silly, it's not actually going to work this morning for me. Right, see if we can do it here. Right, I'm going to give you some, this is the basic rule, okay? Most words use IE, okay, so that's the top spelling. IE is always used for word endings. EI is usually, C is usually followed by EI. EI is always used for word beginnings. EI is usually used for a long A sound. Alright? So when you're thinking of the I before E except after C, it's when it makes a long E sound. Do you know what I mean by a long E sound? Yeah? Yeah. Yes? Take this Monday morning, can't we? So if you're making the E sound, this is when you apply the rule. So this down here, let's have a think about some of the words that might use EI when it's a long A sound. There is a group of words that use EI for a long A sound. It actually is quadgraph. It's part of a quadgraph, EI. Anyone know what the quadgraph is? If you look on your C, well done. If you look on your GPC chart, you're looking for the A sound. You're looking at the vowels, you're looking for the A sound. Not an E sound, it's an A sound. And it's a quadgraph. There's not many quadgraphs in the English language or in phonics. It's a quadgraph. What do you think? Can you spell it for me? Zoe? Don't want to?
E-I-G-H.
E-I-G-H. Thought you had it. Did you have it? You did have it.
Yeah.
You're being shy. E-I-G-H. And that makes the sound A. Do A-I. An A sound, doesn't it? It's one of the least common A-I sounds. So you get words like neighbour. So you also get neigh, as in what horses do. What other words? Numbers?
8.
Yeah, and so therefore what other word? What other number?
8. 18.
80. And 18. 80. And 18. Because they're all coming from the same root word, aren't they? Any others?
Would rain be one? Like rain on the horse?
No, that's actually, weirdly, it is this, but it's not using the quadgraph, but it is making an A-R-E-I-N. That rain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reindeer.
Can you see how they're all making an A sound? Okay, that's all, so that's your quadgraph, that's a digraph. They're all making an A sound. There are others. For some reason they've just completely gone out of my head. But there are others. We are focusing on making an E sound, okay? So the I before E rule fits when you're trying to make an E sound. So if it makes an A sound, it's actually usually spelled E-I. Okay, not I-E. Always at the beginning of words. Can you think of any words that have them at the beginning, have EI at the beginning, that maybe don't make an A sound? Let's read this back, write some underneath. Let's do another. This is kind of our doesn't fit the rule. Would you like either chips or beans for tea? Either.
Oh, yeah.
Either chips or beans for school.
Neither.
Yeah. Well, that's not right at the beginning, but that is a
E.
It's a connected. Yeah, still an E sound. I'd for it except off C, but it's at the beginning of the word. Okay. Any others? I'm not sure I can think of any at the moment. Maybe tomorrow that we'll get the dictionaries out and see if we can find any other E-I words. Did you have one? No? Don't have to if you haven't got one. It's fine. Thought you might have had one. No? Okay. IE, it says, always comes at the end of a word. Let me just move my board because it's slightly on the stand. IE is used for word endings. What do you think that means?
So, like, it ends with IE. Like,
Yeah.
for example, pie.
Yeah.
It has IE on the end.
Some words, like, I'm going to pick a name for one of the children in our class. I've got two children called Millie. One spells it with a Y, but the other one actually spells it I-E. Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see?
Robbie.
Robbie, yeah. They could be spelt with a Y, and you will sometimes see them spelt like, well, Millie we know definitely has a Y, and Robbie you can spell with a Y. But if you're going to put that E sound at the end of the word, it's more likely to be I-E. You also, if you think when you take off the Y and add an E, you know when you add I-E-S at the end of the word, that kind of fits that rule as well, doesn't it? You take off the Y, don't add E-I-S, you add I-E-S, because the Y becomes the I, doesn't it? Can you see it's one of those rules that's got more exceptions than it has actual fits with the rule?
Lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that.
I think we'll add to this as we go, when our brains are more, maybe in our reading or writing today, we can think about it. Right, I'm just going to go and change the board to the next. Okay, some more exceptions. I before E, except after C. So when we see a C, it should be EI if it makes an E sound. Yeah? Well, those words don't. So what have we got? Can you read them?
Ancient.
Yeah.
Glacier. Science.
Science. This one I can kind of understand because it's at the end of the word before an ER. You wouldn't have EIR, would you? Glacier, whichever way you pronounce it. You wouldn't have EIR, would you? That would just look really strange. Ancient. And science. Well, why are they spelled like that? You see, you have a rule. It's almost not a rule, is it? It's kind of this sometimes happens in words, but there are lots of words that don't fit it.
In ancient, you can't really hear the I, and in science, you can't really hear the E.
Shouldn't. So what's a sh? It's a shouldn't sound, isn't it? Rather than an E. You can't hear an E. Because what we're saying, the rule applies when it's an E sound, a long E sound. You don't say ancient, do you? Well, you might do. Now, it's one of those words we're going to say over and over and then we can't hear it properly, isn't it? What do you think?
For science...
Is that making an E sound?
Well,
science.
You could use it, kind of, if you're going to go like science.
Yeah.
Because you could say it longer if you wanted to.
But it doesn't make an E sound, does it?
No, it doesn't.
It's almost sci, S-C-I-ence, isn't it? Sci-ence. And ancient's a bit like that, isn't it? It's like ent. It's not making an E sound, is it? Glass-E-er. That's an it's an E-I-E-R. You can hear glacier or glacier, it doesn't matter which way you say it. It's not making a long E. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do we agree? Yeah. Which is why... Oh, hang on. Which is why it's worth learning some of these words. Exceptions to the rule, most words use IE. Okay, so for every rule we're learning, we're using some words that don't. So most use the most common E sound and EI and IE is IE, except these words. Well, we've talked about these, haven't we? Neither and neither, either and either, either and neither. Protein. There. That's just one we just learned. We don't even think about having an EI, do we? But it's not making.
It's not making like the I.
And it's not making an E sound, is it?
No.
It's making an air sound, isn't it? That one. So that's an air sound. Weird is making what ear. It's all making an ear sound, isn't it? What eared. If you didn't know how to spell it, you might spell it E-A-R-D, mightn't you? Weird.
For weird, is it? It has E-I-R.
Yeah.
You could put that in other words as well. I've seen it in other words.
Yeah.
So it's like air. It's like it's under that section.
Yeah. It's like that's almost making an ear sound and an air sound. It's not making an E sound, is it? Which is why it doesn't apply. It's not making an E sound. Protein. Now that is making an E sound. Protein. I mean, it might just be one of those words that doesn't fit the rule.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I say protein.
Well, I think you might be.
I say you could say protein.
Still protein.
Still
protein. Yeah, I can see. It sometimes depends how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's one of those words that the more you like ancient, the more you say it, you think, am I actually pronouncing that how we normally pronounce it? So I would say that one is kind of an E sound, so it doesn't fit the rule. There, no, either and not, neither or neither. We talked about those because they're at the beginning of the word. About height. Now I looked at that one. That's easy because that's the quadruped. E-I-G-H. We just talked about that. E-I-G-H. Height. Is it making an E sound? No, it's making an I sound, isn't it?
Wouldn't you expect it to have an A because it's a quadgraph?
Yeah, but it doesn't make. But it makes an I sound. Height. Which you think would be H-I-G-H, like height. Actually, why does it have an E? Because you think high and height are related, aren't they? High is H-I-G-H. So why is height H-E-I-G-H? Ooh. We need to look at etymology, don't we? See where the word height comes from. So I think that might help. Because it doesn't make. You can see actually. It's not making an A sound, is it? Oh, I thought another one for that. Weight. Okay, so this one's a bit of a strange, but it's not making an E sound. Air. Like the heir to the throne. I would think that one, with that one, making an air sound, isn't it? They're both making that air, so they're still not making an E sound. Okay. We're not going to worry about shouting out, but we are going to have a quick. You're going to have to guess the words. I'm hoping this works at home. So, I've got whiteboards. Have you got a whiteboard? Yeah. So, we're not going to work individually. Got a pen? Yeah. Don't worry about it. We'll do it in a book tomorrow, okay? Don't worry about it. We'll do it in the book tomorrow. So, if you get the right spelling, you get 1 point. If you can tell me a reason why, you get 2 points. We were not worried about shouting out to the other group. If you shout out the answer then. Now I think I click on one. Ah, hang on. Why is it doing that? Oh. There? No, it's taking me to the end. We might not be able to make our quiz. Oh, we're going to go through all the words. They're all there. Hang on. Right, we'll do it this way. So the red square. This word is ancient. Ancient. Spell it on your board. If you're at home, spell it on your board. Is it I-E or E-I? We just talked a long time about this one, didn't we? Can you remember what we decided? Think about saying ancient. Right, what do you think?
I-E.
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 I-E. Why? Who can tell me why they think it's I-E? Go on.
Because it's Asian.
Mm-hmm.
Europe, not H. Not H.
Yeah, it's not making a long E sound, is it? Right, let's check if you're right. Ancient, 1 point, you've got it right.
Also, if you break it down, it sounds better like if you go ain and then shouldn't. But still, it sounds the same.
Yes.
Isn't it also IE because the ending wouldn't work if it was EI?
Ah, maybe. It looks strange, wouldn't it, if it was the I? Although that's what we're conditioned to look at. So if it was C-E-I-N-T, ancient, it would sound like, wouldn't it? Yeah. Next one. Oh, handkerchief.
Oh, what?
Handkerchief.
Hanker.
Handkerchief. Yeah, you need to do the hanker at the beginning as well. Handkerchief. Handkerchief. One word.
Oh.
It's not hyphenated, it's one word. We had this in the Christmas, the night before Christmas, it was neckerchief. One of my class had to say neckerchief. And he was like, what's a neckerchief? And is that even how you say neckerchief? Right, who's got handkerchief? Oh, let's do. Tell me the letters. No, you got to shine? What do you think it is? I-E or E-I at the end?
I-E.
I-E. Do we agree?
I think EI.
You think E-I?
I put.
Because it like links to the word chief.
Right, but why does that make a difference? I before E, except after C. Does it make an E sound? A long E sound? Handkerchief?
Yeah.
It does.
Because the H separates the I and the E from the
So you think it's going to stay as an IE
Yeah.
rather than an EI because it's not following a
C.
C. IE, handkerchief. Handkerchief, handkerchief. I say that wrong, it's actually handkerchief. You don't say handkerchief, do you? You say handkerchief. You say tissue these days. Not many people use a handkerchief anymore, do they? It's not after a C. So this one is 8. Oh!
Already know.
8. 8. We know this one. You should all be able to get 2 points for this one. Who's going to be brave enough to say it on film? You're going to be brave this time, so yeah.
It's E-I-G-H-T.
Yeah.
And it's 8 because it's a number 8.
And why is it not Why is it not IE?
Because it's making an A sound, not
Good
an
girl. It's that A sound, not an E sound. There we go. Next one, veil. They're a veil, aren't they? We're a veil. Like if someone got married. You can keep your tally of your points.
Oh, tally.
Well, just as long as you know what your points are, don't worry about it. Veil. Let's write veil. Veil. Think of your sounds. I feel like I'm going back to phonics. I feel like chopping, doing my robot arms. The A. Oh. Oh. Who's going to be brave who hasn't had a turn? You be brave? Yeah, come on then. The I-E? No? Think of the sound when the I before except off C when it makes an E sound. V-A. Oh, what sound is it making in the middle?
EI because it's making an A sound.
It's making that A sound. Do we agree?
Yeah.
It's EI because it's making an A sound. I hope Emily's. Can you see the box? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
No.
No, I know.
I know you wouldn't cheat. Veil. Right, this one. Ceiling. Ceiling. You just have good eyesight to see it on there. Ceiling. Ceiling.
I know I'm correct for this one.
You know you're correct with this one.
Yeah.
It's one of those words, actually, you start learning and seeing a lot once you're in Key Stage 1, don't you? The tricky bit might be what letter it starts with, because it's a certain sound. Go on then.
I think it's EI because it starts with a C.
Starts with a C, and it's making an E sound. Ceiling. E. Well done. Right, next one is priest. 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 Sound it out. Honestly, you think, oh, my key stage 2 now, I don't need to do chunking. I still chunk when I sound words out. Priest. Priest. And you know what rule we're following. You know what letter combination we're looking at. So I before E, except after C when it makes a long E sound. Go on, be brave.
I-E.
I-E because, do we agree?
Yes.
Is it after a C? Is it making an E sound?
Yes.
So P-R-I-E-S-T. Priest.
I thought it was EI.
Why did you think E-I? Why do you think E-I? No, it's fine, but why do you think E-I?
It just sounds right it just sounds right to have EI.
No, P-R-E, remember? The general rule is I before E when it makes that E sound except after C. Do we have another one? Oh, we had to begin it. Glacier or glacier?
I say glacier. Could you say that? Glacier.
That's like, no. That would be more of a C-I-A-L. So that would be a different word.
Is it a biome as well?
Pardon?
Is it a biome? Glacier. Could it be a biome?
We're spelling the word glacier. So let's just spell the word glacier. Come on, have a go.
Is it IE?
Why?
Because
Is it making an E sound? We talked about this one, you talked about this one. Is it making an E, a long E sound? Glacier.
yes.
Is it? Glacier.
No.
Think about when we talked about this one. What sound can you hear at the end of the word?
E.
What can you hear?
Uh.
You know that glaze, it's almost, it's two separate sounds. They're almost making two separate, it's like an isn't it? Rather than a long E sound. Yes.
I put IE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is IE because we talked, it's one of the exceptions because actually when you break it down you're hearing that sound at the end and so you can't use the IE to make, it's not glacier, it's making an sound, isn't it, at the end. Right, have we got any more? Oh, medieval. Medieval. Break it down. Even the best spellers break it down into sounds and syllables. Medieval. I-E or E-I? That's what we're worried about at the moment, is the I-E or the E-I. We're not worried about the rest of the word. We'll look at the rest of the word. It is a bit of a funny word spelling one. I-E or E-I? I-E?
IE.
I-E? I-E, we'll think I-E, medieval. So in the middle there, that I-E is making that evil sound.
Medieval.
Yeah, let's have a look then. Medieval. Although it does almost, because we're medi, don't you? The I does sound like it almost has two drops. Evil. I-E. Medieval. So that period of time, medieval times. Friend. Friend. This is one of your key stage 1. I before E except I see. Although it's not, is it making a friend? It's not making a long E sound, is it? If you can remember my rhyme to this. Not a rhyme, how I pronounce this. Can you remember, Zoe? Go on then.
It's Friday because Friday is the end of the week.
Yeah, it's Friend. So it's I-E. 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 There we go. So, a spelling rule, I before E, except after C, when it makes a long E sound, except for all the exception words and the other reasons why not. One of those rules, isn't it? But we'll keep, this is one we're going to need to keep practicing over the week. So, fantastic job. Well done.